Welcome back, everybody. We got power back. So I installed these longer ones up front, these lifting plates, because we need to try and finagle that mainspring out of there. And then we'll get these brackets put on this back bell housing here. Pull these back bell housing bolts, and we'll get this engine out of here. Over here on the left side of the crawler, I was getting ready to remove this bolt down here to get that cover out of the way, that old dust cover. And I was looking at these pins and where they ride in that flat bar. If I get the light in here better, you can see how that flat bar almost wore all the way through that pin. And the flat bar has been very elongated. But yeah, that gives you a better reference looking at how it almost wore right through that pin. It'll definitely be something we have to address. Well, I'm going to work on getting this dust cover out of the way, and then we'll see about getting that spring out of there. Alright, with that dust cover out of there, or what's left of the dust cover, these things obviously saw their abuse. I believe I need to get that roller out of there, but nothing wants to move on it. So I might end up actually pulling these pins apart and trying to lift everything that way. This might be a learn as we go type thing. I was able to get the lower spring out, or helper spring. Most of these pins are actually stuck, which did surprise me, being as how wore they were. I was hoping they would actually come out from being so loose, but unfortunately time took its toll and they are rusted in pretty tight. Just over here at the spring, you can see just how much rust and corrosion buildup there is in there. We'll have to get all that cleaned up. And same with the other side here. This pin actually is loose, but being how the block and the oil pan is designed, there is no way to get that pin out of there without either pulling that large nut you see right there and dropping that T down, or pulling the oil pan. Alright, with that spring out, we should be able to use a cherry picker here and see if we can get this just to tilt back far enough to pull that lower spring out. That's not good. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but as I was picking up, the whole track frames and tracks are tilting with. Instead of just the engine and transmission tilting up on its own independently, I'm actually picking up the entire front of the crawler. I believe that the problem is in the rear end, the fact that everything is stuck on this crawler, and I mean everything. So sure, we really touched on it a whole lot when we did the walk around, but brake pedals are stuck, steering clutch levers are stuck. The shifter does move from side to side, but there is no gear that it will go into. Come over to the other side here. This brake pedal's stuck, steering clutch is stuck, main clutch lever's stuck. The engagement levers for the pony motor, that one partially moves, but that one does not. Everything is stuck, including the tracks. Seeing that everything is stuck, I let it back down and I put a mark on the bell housing. What I did is I just laid this plate one of these lifting brackets. Just laid it in here, slid it in flat, and we just barely moved. I mean, we're talking 1/8 of an inch. I have the crawler off from the beams that we rolled it in on. So, I think my next plan of attack is to pull this rear cover. But to do that, all them bell housing bolts we pulled out need to go back in so that engine is supported. And then we'll have to pull these covers off, get into the steering clutch levers, pull the shifter. The book lays out how to take all this apart. And then we'll have to start pulling all these big bolts and lifting this entire casting off as one to figure out what we can do for the tracks being stuck, if it's just brake bands or if it's farther in, and what we can do to try to get the engine out. So stay tuned, everybody. There's a lot more to come. There's a lot more fights ahead. With everything being stuck, we're gonna have a fun time trying to get pieces and parts off by book procedure. We're gonna have to kind of jump around a little bit, but it'll give you guys a sneak peek of what's inside here, what the rear end looks like. That cover opens transmission, clutch, rear end, steering clutches, brakes. So stick around. Thanks for watching.